Hello, I'm Ellina Nickell, former economist, financier, and former associate professor in several Russian universities. And almost 18 years I live in Canada. Now I'm a Canadian author and world traveler. It happened to be that I'm also an expert in Russian-Ukrainian relations, especially in 2013, 2014, and now. What I have to tell you is very sad and unpleasant. It's about the war which Putin's Russia unleashed on independent country of Ukraine. And I just want you to know several facts which may be important, and especially why Putin unleashed that war on Ukraine and why he will not stop, and why it should concern us all. It's not just a question of war between Ukraine and Russia, it's not just about Ukraine or just about Russia, and I would like you to know that. When I moved to Canada in 2004, I find out that majority of things which I learned in USSR and Russia about the world, about other countries, wasn't true. It was opposite of that. I happen to be old enough to live in 3 countries. I lived in USSR, I was born in USSR, I lived in Russia, and now I'm living in Canada and travel all over the world. Also, because of my writing of mysteries and my author's page, I have friends and readers in over 30 countries in the world. That is why my information based, first of all, on facts and statistics and lots of research, and second of all, it's based on information I get from people I know. Like right now, I know people all over Russia and I know people all over Ukraine, and I don't have to rely on news to know something. People just simply can open the window and take their telephone out and show me what's happening in different countries. That is why my heart is broken that one of the countries of my citizenship, Russia, unleashed that horrible war on Ukraine. I'm sad to know that people in Ukraine are dying, that their cities getting destroyed, the children and women and civilians and even military, they getting bombed every night because of the time difference. I talking to Ukrainian people in Ukraine, supporting them, supporting my friends authors all over Ukraine, and I know what's happening to them, and they talking to me and they explaining that they getting bombed. They sitting, some of them was sitting in root cellar, they don't have metro in every city and or places to go in that kind of situation. Some of them just in apartments, basically in, one of them said, I'm sitting in the corridor because even bathroom has a mirrors, has tiles, it's then more dangerous in her opinion to be there than in the corridor of her apartment. So what do we supposed to know about the war? First of all, and the main thing is, it's useless, it's senseless, it does not have any reason beside of Putin's ego and wanted to stay in power. I was watching very closely what was happening in 2013, 2014. In 2013, situation in Russia and Ukraine was okay. There was nothing going on there, basically. It was both very corrupted countries, but economy was developing, the international relationship was getting better, and nothing really was saying that it was necessary in any possible way at all. And I can tell you that I spent a lot of hours at the time. Me and my husband together were researching the situation. We watching most of all private videos made by people on their telephones. We watched dozens of hours in different videos about Maidan. It's a square in Ukraine where people were protesting at the time. We watched the situation in Crimea. We watched how it happened, what happened, and I intend to tell you that it is scary how the willpower of one person could put the world on the edge of the World War III and nuclear war. It is just senseless, it's scary, and it deeply upsets me. I don't see any reason for any of this. Russia and Ukraine was always brothers countries, and that's what Ukrainian people were telling me. Russians shooting us. One of my friends woke up in Kiev from bombing, and at 5:30 in the morning she has to take her children to the bomb shelter, or basically to metro. How would you explain it to your children when it's happening? Why somebody bombing us? What's happening? It's just insane. And the first letters I got from Ukraine, first messages was, "It's Russians, they are brothers, how are we gonna shoot them? We can't do that." Ukrainian mothers was trying to tell Russian mothers, take their children away. We cannot shoot them. But when they shooting you and bombing you, Ukrainian people had to shoot back, and now the tone changed. They said, we're gonna win and we're not gonna stop. This is our country and we're not gonna stop fighting. Private people in Ukraine standing in line to get weapons to hold on from that attack. Senseless, pointless attack. I can tell you that my research showed nothing was saying Putin and anybody in authorities in Russia is true. Nothing whatsoever. They talking about Nazis in Ukraine, that's a lie. I researched it very closely, and like in every country, there are ultra-right parties in Ukraine, and basically Nazis. So on the first free election in 2014, two Nazi parties or ultra-right parties in Ukraine together combined couldn't make 2% of votes. The same thing happened in 2019. So there is no Nazis to speak of at all, period. It was free election, they could elect them in parliament, anything they wanted. Yet, nobody voted for them, like in any normal country. On the contrary, Russia acting like Nazis, like fascists. Putin is a war criminal. He unleashed the war in Ukraine only based on his senseless ego. He broke the international agreement. I can tell you what that agreement is. It's called Budapest Memorandum. And on December 5th, 1994, I'm quoting, the leaders of Ukraine, Russia, Great Britain, and the United States signed a Memorandum of Security Assurances. Under this agreement, Ukraine transferred the world's third largest nuclear arsenal, nuclear weapons stockpile, to Russia in exchange for the commitment of the countries who signed the memorandum to respect the independence, sovereignty, and existing borders of Ukraine. The memorandum reads in part as follows. The Russian Federation, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the United States of America reaffirm their obligation to refrain from the threat of use of force against the territorial integrity and political independence of Ukraine, and that none of their weapons will ever be used against Ukraine except in self-defense or otherwise in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations. All four countries signed that document, and even Putin was agreed at the time. He gave his interview, for instance, to the German channel ARD, and I have links on my website to that interview where he's confirming that Ukraine should be respected within the borders and the Crimea belong to Ukraine. And right after that, he invaded Crimea. He lied to the whole world that it's not his troops without insignia in Ukraine. I personally saw the footages of Russia building the border between Ukraine and Crimea, which is part of Ukraine, before the referendum which happened there about 3 days before. There was no referendum yet they already was building the border. They unplugged all the Ukrainian TV in the Crimea at the time and started to pump in Crimea with Russian propaganda, saying that there are Nazis in Kiev and then they're gonna come and kill you. That was a lie. It scared people in Crimea, which wasn't intended to go to Russia at the time. They wanted independence within Ukraine, within the agreement they had before. They did not plan to join Russia. They were scared to do so, and right during the election and the referendum, they saw talking about there was military people standing there with machine guns. I saw it myself. So nothing of that is true. Not about Nazis, not about NATO, Putin trying to blame NATO. That's a lie. NATO was in 2013 reducing and planning to reduce forces, basically all the countries. Practically there was no even NATO tanks left in Europe. How do I do my research? My research, it's not just researching statistics, it's not just researching information, which is in the free countries, as you know, people and the companies paying taxes, people publishing. There is a NATO website. They're supposed to be responsible to people, and they're supposed to say what they do, and they're supposed to publish stuff, and that's they do. But it's not enough. If, for instance, I would have talking to my friends in Europe and knowing that while NATO saying that they're reducing their presence in Europe, they're actually building new military bases and stuff like that, I would say, that information may be not true. But I heard from my friends in Europe that here military base of NATO closed and there nuclear base of NATO closed. So all the people's witnesses confirmed what statistics was saying and what the information I found was saying. NATO was reducing and trying to tell that NATO is a threat to Russia. That is not true. All what Ukraine wanted at the time, in 2013, roughly 2014, in this period, Ukraine wanted an agreement with European Union about cooperation. European Union would never, at the time, accept Ukraine because Ukraine was a highly corrupted country. According to Transparency International, the level of corruption was, the index of corruption was, to compare, like, the closer to 1 is the best. Canada was number 9. United States was something like 23. Russia was 127. And Ukraine was 144. So all Ukraine wanted is to trade with European Union, and nobody was even talking about breaking ties to Russia. That would have been outright stupid, because these countries was connected very much. Nobody was saying about closing Russian military base in Sevastopol. There was no discussion. I never seen it anywhere in any media. So there was no point to attack Ukraine, grab the Crimea, and then supporting basically those Donetsk, Lugansk republics, people republics they're talking about. It's 2 parts of Ukraine which illegally annexed, and no one in the world except Russia and few dictatorships agree that they are countries. They are part of Ukraine, which was illegally taken away from Ukraine by Putin and his cronies, by his people, again, insignialess troops, trained by KGB, trained by basically thugs, who grabbed a few buildings, the government buildings in Ukraine. I was watching it very closely. I seen an interview with them by Vice News, for instance, and so on, with those people. It was illegal and unlawful thing to do. And full responsibility on that is on Putin. everything would happen after that if few people die there. And actually was more dying during the war there at the time in 2013, 2014. There is even information that from Russian sources that 8 people died there during their other years. 8 people, and they're talking about genocide. They should not use that word. Russia should not use that word. It's a lie. So basically all the Putin's propaganda is a lie. At the time, Ukraine was only wanted to trade with European Union. There was no even question of Ukraine joining NATO. First of all, Russia wasn't a threat. It wasn't necessary. Ukraine didn't even think about it at the time. Second of all, another reason why Putin trying to keep that unrest in Ukraine, those Donetsk, Lugansk republics, it's because according to the NATO, to join that alliance, the countries shouldn't have unresolved disputes, territorial disputes. And to keeping that open wound in Ukraine with the territorial disputes like Crimea and Donetsk, Lugansk republics, preventing Ukraine from joining NATO, for instance. This is another reason. But the main reason for Putin, it's, in my opinion, it's that instead of thinking about Russian economy and Russian Federation and people in Russia, he did not do anything besides corruption and filling out the pockets of his and his oligarchs. And when decline of economy started to be noticeable, he fell in a trap which some dictators before him fell as well. It's called Little Successful War. He decided that he will go in Ukraine, in 3 days he will capture Ukraine, and he will be hero on a horse, which everybody would admire in Russia, and that will help him to stay in power. I'm sorry to inform you that he's deeply corrupted dictator who doesn't know the word no. He can't lose, and for that he is ready to sacrifice anything, even start World War III or nuclear war if he has to. Why? Because for him it's not just a question of ego, it's a question of staying in power. If he loses the war in Ukraine, his regime will collapse. And the Russian economy is in a really bad situation, and especially now with all the sanctions will be, the collapse is coming. So for Putin to stay in power, he ready to do anything. He gonna bomb Ukraine to the ground, he gonna kill everybody, he not gonna stop. This is what I want you to know. If you have any more questions about that, you can read my articles on my website ellinanickell.com. You can write me private messages on Facebook or on my website. And in the end of this video, I will leave some messages and information about you might want to see to verify what I say. Please verify what I say. You're welcome to check it out. I'm not Putin, I'm not lying to you. I don't have reasons to. And I can prove what I say. He can't, I can. And I will. So do not trust anything coming out from Putin and Russia. He lied to the world so much, and admitting it later, like with those insignialist troops in Crimea, saying, oh no, it's not Russian troops. And I said, yes, it's our troops, so what? So basically, he isn't American president, who when their president term finished, they take the suitcase and they leave. Putin is not. Putin is a corrupted dictator, and for him staying in power is a question of life and death. Also because his resources, his money is in the hands of many other people. His oligarchs, not all of them holding his assets for him. So as soon as he loses power, for them make more sense to get rid of him and keep the money. So he just don't have any other choice as continuing. That is why he's not trying to make agreements with Ukraine and President of Ukraine, Zelensky. He's just trying to say ultimatums, and he does not want to stop. He does not want to have agreement or ceasefire or anything. He wants to win. He wants to win at any cost. The history teaching us that all the empires always collapse and dictators end badly. The question is how many people have to die before that happens. Thank you for your attention.